Chairman, you can now start the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, councillors. Good evening, anyone that happens to be listening to us this evening. Welcome to August's Colne District Area Committee. My name is Graham Moore. I'm the councillor for Fulridge and chairman of this committee, and I will be facilitating the meeting tonight. First of all, for councillors, as you've been reminded, please mute your microphones if you're not actually talking. That stops the feedback. If anyone has any trouble staying logged on during the meeting, Joanne Eccles is actually in the office, which is the 661648 number. So you can dial into her and she'll try and sort you out or help you. And also you have the chat facility for those that have it on their computers if you wanted to indicate how to vote if you're not live. Okay, so anybody have declarations of interest? I'm looking for hands to go up on the screen. If not, I'm going to assume that nobody has any declarations. Okay, moving on. I'm notified that the public have not indicated any wish to put questions to us. Next on the agenda are the minutes of the last meeting. Are you all in favour? And I will wait to see a hand if you are not. So I'm assuming that that is unanimous. So I've passed the minutes. Progress reports. Anybody any issues, please? Any questions? Okay, next up is police issues. We are expecting Inspector Post.
I am on the call.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, how are we?
Very good, thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for having me. I just want to introduce myself. I'm mindful that I've not been to this meeting previously, given the restrictions around COVID, but my name's Scott Borst. I'm the newly appointed Geographic Inspector for Pendle and Ribble Valley. I just want to touch on, over recent weeks, I've been made aware, and it is blatantly obvious, if you like, that we've seen an increase in antisocial behaviour around particular areas of Colne. We completely understand that. We kind of expect it, if I'm being completely honest with you, given some of the COVID restrictions, and those expectations are now sort of coming to fruition, if you like, and it's my job to look at what that means for us and look at plans to address some of those particular issues. Now, I've got a meeting scheduled on Tuesday morning with Councillor Coburn-Price, Mr. Stanford. I think the councillors Foxes are coming as well. So we'll have a sit down and we'll do that sort of collective review together Tuesday morning. I just want to touch on Cotton Tree Lane. I know over the last couple of weekends there have been some particular issues around the Cotton Tree Lane area, particularly the wooded areas with groups of people turning up with speakers, engaging in antisocial behaviour, and just ultimately engaging in unruly behaviour, so to speak. Today I've authorised a Section 34 dispersal notice. I don't know if you've seen that on social media, and that will be authorised from 7 p.m. tomorrow evening for a period of 48 hours, which will take us through till Sunday 7 p.m. And I will review whether or not that has the desired effect on Monday when I come back in on duty. But that's the first step for us. There's potentially a long way to go in terms of addressing that particular issue and working with local authority and looking at who owns the land, etc. But I just want to kind of get this weekend out of the way, have a look what effect that approach has had, and have the sit down with the councillors on Tuesday to sort of look at wider issues across the district.
Okay, so before I go to councillors, I would just mention that have you had sight of the letter that we sent out from the last meeting?
I have. Yeah, I have. The letter that was sent it's gone to the Police and Crime Commissioner and it's filtered its way down to me. I'm not going to go into the specifics of it in this meeting. I don't think it's appropriate. But I'll certainly be discussing that on Tuesday with Mr. Stanford and the other.
That's absolutely fine, Inspector. That's exactly what I was That's why I raised it with you, so that is on your agenda for a detailed discussion, because that is at the heart of our concerns. Where we are at the moment.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I fully understand that. And like I say, it's part of my role is to kind of review all that information. And if that's the general feeling, then it's right to raise those concerns. I will just touch on the Chief Inspector Andy Cartwright, who previously held my position here as the inspector, will also be present at that meeting on Tuesday. So we'll be able to have that wider discussion, if you like.
That's absolutely great. I've got Councillor Lord indicated she wished to speak. Councillor Lord?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me, Graham?
Yes, loud and clear. Yeah.
Thank you, Scott, for that. You say at the beginning that this is sort of, this antisocial behaviour has been happening since the COVID, since the third month of this year. But actually, this antisocial behaviour has been going on for about 2 years. And we've all been trying to get something done. And I know it's difficult. And I think it's probably been highlighted more now, because this group of youths in 20s, 30s, numbers, not age, are doing everything that everybody else is not doing and shouldn't be doing, and that is congregating. And they've been doing that right from the beginning. So I think now that is more in people's minds, because they've seen it. Well, what are they doing? What are they doing now? What are they doing gathering in different spots in Colne? But as I say, some of the stuff that they do is horrendous. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I understand kids. I've worked with kids for 30 years. I've got kids of my own, grandkids. But some of the stuff that they do to annoy people and antagonize people and upset people is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So it is a big problem. But also, I'd like to ask, I think that there should be a councillor from each ward at this meeting on Tuesday morning. But thanks, Scott. If you're going to really work on this, then thank you. And if things have happened so far, thank you again.
Yeah, just to touch on your first point, the increase in ASB is a problem that we are seeing replicated across all areas of Lancashire, and I've no doubt exactly the same nationally. Now, the police have only got one part to play in addressing these kind of issues, and ordinarily we would heavily lean on and rely on the support of other local services. Now, unfortunately, COVID hit us at a time where we didn't really expect the impact that it has had. We were ill prepared for what that impact has been. I'll be the first person to say that, and we're all kind of learning as we go along with it. But the biggest issue I've seen, certainly from a local policing perspective, is that we've seen the withdrawal of those local services, because quite rightly they've risk assessed their activity and deemed it not to be suitable during the COVID pandemic. So some of the services that we would ordinarily rely on are just not there. So there's no diversionary activities. The schools are closed, and this is all compounding the issue around antisocial behaviour. So I appreciate what you say in terms of the fact it's been there for 2 years, and undoubtedly it will have been. I've not been here for 2 years, but it's certainly increased over the last sort of 4, 5, 6 months. But like I said, we would have expected that. In terms of your question around the meeting on Tuesday, I would love to have everybody there. I genuinely would, but it's not feasible given the COVID restrictions. So at this moment in time, we are not in a position to kind of pull that together, if you like.
Okay.
Can I just jump in there, Graham?
Yeah, sure.
What I'm trying to say here, we've got 3, and this is not political by any means, but we've got 3 Bolesworth councillors going to this meeting, and actually the main problem isn't in Bolesworth. It's in the town centre, it's in Waterside, it's in, but so that I was just trying to ask if it can be a little bit fairer than that. If not, that's fine. That's fine.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Sorry, I'll tell you what I'll do. I mean, I can't. It's not a meeting that I can hold over the Teams or Skype, because what I want to do is give a little bit of context around the policing structure in Pendle, and how we sort of identify risk, harm and threat, because that's my job to do that. And in order to do that, I need to show and demonstrate the computer systems that we have with the information that we hold upon it. I completely get your point around, the individual wards. And once I've got the meeting on Tuesday out of the way, if you want, send me the details. I'm more than happy to arrange further meetings. I just can't get everybody together because of, the restrictions around.
That
Is that okay with that, Doc?
Can I come in, Graham?
yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that, Scott. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, Margaret. Yeah.
Just to come back on that, I know how Doc must be feeling. It isn't political at all. Paul isn't able to go to that meeting. I am, and there are specific problems at the moment in Bolesworth. Unfortunately, there's been a real spike in sort of ASB, and we really do need to nip it in the bud. And I think Sarah has quite rightly negotiated a meeting, and we're just going along to support her in that, because we are very, very concerned about what's happening in Bolesworth. And I agree with you, it's been going on for a long time in other areas, and it is something we need to address together. It needs to be a united front on this. But it is very, very worrying, because we're seeing things happen that we haven't seen really before at this level. And I think we do need to really nip this in the bud and start working on it together.
Right. I think we understand that. Once this meeting's out of the way, then I think my understanding is Inspector Wells can sort something out with Dot specifically for the rest of the wards. Is that how we're going to leave it, Inspector?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that. I mean, I'll have to look at my diary when we can fit that in, but certainly I'm happy to meet with everybody and go through the same kind of stuff that I'm going to talk about on Tuesday. Okay,
that's absolutely great. If anyone has anything, other burning issue, could you indicate now, please? Jonathan Nixon's put his hand up. Jonathan?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. It's just in regards to racing cars. And a lot of, I've been walking quite a lot recently, and after work at about 7 o'clock, I go on a walk, and part of the walk takes me down White Walls Drive, which is the main road from the M65 roundabout at Bangdrum to Asda. It's a bridge, it goes over Furnico, if you know what I mean. The amount of cars racing along there is unbelievable, really. They're definitely not doing 40 miles an hour. And they've put the foot down, they've got their exhaust loud as they can possibly go. And I just sometimes I just wish I could sit there with a stinger and just burst the tyres, because they're driving like absolute idiots. But obviously I don't have the authority to do that, unfortunately. But I wondered whether the police are aware that this is going on.
So, road safety in Pendle is clearly causing anxiety across all the communities, not just in Colne, but also across other areas of Pendle. It is one of the top priorities that comes up whenever we hold any engagement events, whether that's on social media, whether that's face to face. Road safety is always at the absolute top of people's minds. Now, I mentioned this in the Community Safety Partnership Pendle. We have got a part to play in that. We absolutely do. And we do undertake enforcement activity around speeding vehicles, but it is a really difficult kind of behaviour to always enforce, if you like, because ultimately, if we are present, we tend to have big yellow jackets on, we've got these vehicles that have got big blue lights on, and people see us and they tend to slow down. As soon as we're not there, they start speeding back up again. Now, I need to be really clear on the fact that when I say the police do have a part to play, they do, but actually so do every other local service. And that was the reason that the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership was set up, so that all local services could come together and look at what they could collectively do to solve road safety issues. So if we use the location that you're talking about there as an example of that, the environment allows people to speed, doesn't it? So if somebody's driving down that road at 100 mile an hour and they knock somebody over, we will deal with that, reactively, and we will prosecute that person. And it might stop that person from driving at that speed again on that stretch of road. But what it won't do is stop the next 10 people driving down that stretch of road at 100 mile an hour. Until we start to look at environment of locations, then people are always going to speed in those locations. So the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership ultimately review all the data and the information that is provided to them, historically by us, but now by everybody, because they've opened up their website in terms of reporting mechanisms, and they will look at where the most dangerous stretches of road are, and they will look at a collective sort of plan to tackle that problem, if you like. So we'll continue to do our local level stuff, but a sort of a strategic, tactical level. For me, the message is really clear. If you've got concern around a particular stretch of road or a particular area, you must report that to the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership on their website. Anybody can go on and do it, and let them review that information. The more information they get, the more likely they are to do something about it.
Okay, Inspector. I've got
Thank
Dot
you.
Law indicated she wanted to come back on something. Dot?
Yeah, well, this is really for Inspector Boast, as he, just new to us. This is another thing that's been going on for a few years. And in my role as a carer for a young man with learning disabilities, I had to sleep in at a house on Burnley Road, a couple of times a week. And it was a regular occurrence that there were boy racers racing from Laneshire Bridge right through, because it's a straight route, right through to Briarfield. And so, I kept reporting this until eventually they put some traffic cops, I think, out somewhere watching out for them. I never knew what the result was, but they did do something. But these guys apparently were hiring these zooped up cars, and this is what they were doing. That was the pastime. The noise was horrific. That's why we reported it. So it has been going on for some time.
No, absolutely. And like I said, the officers who were there, that is a short-term measure. They ultimately they have solved that problem for a very short period of time, but I've absolutely the issue is still continuing. So we've got to look at what the longer-term solution is to those issues. We will do local enforcement, absolutely we will, when we've got the capacity to do it. But the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership was set up for all those local services to look at what those longer term solutions might be, and unfortunately it's not within my capabilities, if you like, to change the road layouts and whatever else might be needed. So that's where Lancashire Road Safety Partnership is a really important tool for us to use.
Okay, I've got Councillor Fox here, I think, wish to comment, and then I think we're done.
Yes, please.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I've had my hand up for ages, but I don't think you could see me at all.
No, I can't see you, Sarah, and I can't see your hand. I will get to you as soon as Paul's finished. Okay.
Thank you. No problem.
Sorry, no, there's no indication.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that certainly the whole issue of fast cars speeding, not necessarily just your average saloon car, definitely speeding through Laneshire Bridge in both directions is still a regular problem. In fact, every single Friday night is a favourite time. It's like clockwork. Now, I just wanted to ask a question of the Inspector, if I may. The reports to the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership, what information would they actually need to actually act upon it? Because it strikes me that if if I report that what I've just said, that there's speeding cars, that's no proof of a there's no proof there, and there's no they'll look, if you look at the road, it's a long straight stretch of road on Keithley Road in Lancashire Bridge, wide and long, it's always been a problem with cars speeding, but it's only in the last couple of years at the most that there's been this problem with basically racing along that road, and you can hear them coming from a long way away, and it's a very serious problem, because it only takes one person to step out into the road at the wrong moment and they will be mown down. There's no doubt about it, because those cars are going at a phenomenal rate in a 30-mile-an-hour limit.
Yeah, so I've never sat in a road safety partnership meeting, so I wouldn't know what the content of those discussions are. However, an informed guess, if you like, is they task the mobile speed cameras, and in terms of identifying locations for those speed cameras, that comes from that Lancashire Road Safety Partnership group. So I would imagine that they look at, right, let's go out and do a site assessment. Is it suitable for a mobile speed camera or mobile speed van to go and work on that road and capture some of that evidence? So where you talk there about not having the evidence, there is opportunities to go and capture some of that evidence, isn't there? And I imagine.
Yeah, well, the speeding, the road safety vans, or whatever they call them, are regularly on this stretch of road, but never at the times when the racing goes on, which is usually at night and sometimes in the middle of the night.
And perhaps that's the question. I mean, I'll pick that up with the Road Safety Partnership. Like I said, those vans they're not tasked by me. The tasking comes from that Road Safety Partnership, so I'm not quite sure how the tasking works. But I'll put that as an action, and I'll speak to them to see how it is that their tasking works.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
That's absolutely great. I'll bring Sarah into 2 seconds without boring you with exactly the same story. I know Fulridge Parish Council has taken up exactly the same issues with there. So I just throw that in the mix. Okay. Please don't give me a full explanation, because it's the same for everybody, I think, throughout the borough. Yeah. So I'll bring in Sarah Coburn-Price now. Sorry, Sarah, I didn't see your hand or anything.
No, I think I used to, on this app, have a little electronic hand, and that's disappeared. Yeah. So I can't account for it. So I was just waving on my own. I'd like to thank Inspector Boast for the meeting. Just to check, I've got it down in my diary, and I've invited people for noon. Other people have been talking about this morning. I've got it for noon on Tuesday.
Oh, I've got it for 11 o'clock, but
right.
I'll just have a look.
Noon.
Matt Bullitt set it up, I think, hasn't he? Tuesday.
I've had a lot of correspondence with him. I've invited everyone else for noon as well, haven't I, Margaret?
I can do noon. He's put it at 11 o'clock in my diary, but I can do
Perfect. So that's just, thank you for that. Want to just back up what Paul has been saying, and I have been, and Councillor Warr knows this, all over the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership, whatever it's called, website. And I found it a little bit frustrating, and I added some extra notes, because in the rural roads, I'm talking Skipton Earl Road and Hollin Hall, Keithley Road, what happens is they monitor for over a 3-month period, not at the times when this is happening, and then you cannot report that area again for another 3 years, because that monitoring is finished. So I reported some roads that haven't been monitored, that I know there's racing on, such as Barker House Road in Nelson. And I wrote on the website, the thing is, it isn't habitual. Most people are law-abiding, but the people who are going fast are going really fast. They're going at 70 miles an hour past my house on Skipton Old Road in a 30 zone. And there's a corner, and they crash through the wall into the sheep, and they're surprised. And it is very specifically late at night, but also on really nice days, whenever it's a kind of day when you'd want to put the top down on your cabriolet, not that I have one, that's the day that Skipton Hall Road and these roads attract these people. They're often in twos and they are at insane speeds. And I know that's a really difficult one to police, no pun intended. It must be very hard. But certainly the late at night one is not weather dependent. But if there is ever any slack in the system on a really nice day, you will catch them on a really nice day, because the website only allows you to enter days of the week. Well, that's no good, because meteorologically, you don't know when it's going to be sunny.
I don't know how the road. You know more about the road safety partnership than I do. But yeah, I'll feed that back in, and we'll pick it up on the meeting on Tuesday if you want. But yeah, it is an issue everywhere across Pendle, and you know, I just haven't got the capacity within my team to focus on all the areas that are raised as concerns for us. And when I talk about the policing context with you on Tuesday, I hope that you will see that and understand why we kind of prioritise some areas of business more than some of the others. But we'll discuss that Tuesday.
Many thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming. It really is a pleasure to have you. If we can have you every month, that would be absolutely wonderful. But whenever you can make it, you're very welcome. So thank you for attending this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We will now move on. So the next one up is planning application 0276, and I have Mr. Anwar to speak. Good evening, Mr. Anwar. Are you with us?
I am with you. Yes, how are you? Okay.
Good, thank you. I understand you wish to speak.
Yeah, just a quick one for you. I know there's been a bit of to and fro with this planning application. It's just there's a lot been going on with the planning application. We've made major amendments to the planning application. We were initially going for the pitched roof. I understand the local council and Catherine Hughes, who's the planning officer, wanted to change to that. So we made change to that. We made huge changes. That's just to show from our side we are willing to make change, willing to make amendments to show that, you know, we're willing, you know, moving into that area. I'm not moving in to sell or to make a profit. I'm moving in to live there, put roots down, grassroots down, and, you know, raise a family there. You know, the planning application, from what I understand, is in keeping with the building as it is. No major amendments have been made, and all the amendments that have been made are now in agreement with the planning officer. Initially, I was against it, but finally seeing Catherine's view, her opinions, you know, I'm glad that she said what she did say, and I just hope that, you know, the local council are on the same page as I am, because there are new builds within the garden of this property, the original garden of this property. There are new builds within there. So to say that a new building can't go up would be a bit far-fetched. To say that the local council did pass new builds within the last 15 to 20 years. That's all I've got to say. I know there's more pressing issues at hand, so I'll just leave it as that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know whether you know, but you weren't appearing, so I'm not sure whether you had your video link off, but that's fine. That's absolutely great. Any councillors wish to speak? Councillor Coburn-Price?
I think that this latest iteration is a million miles away from the first application, which featured a projecting forward gable and a very high wall. And I think it's been taken down in size. I think that the back of this new extension actually looks quite attractive. So I think it shows that the planning system actually does work in terms of making a difference in terms of iterations, because the first plan was, I felt, shocking, and we've moved a long way forward here. However, I'm not happy with the bifold doors on the front. I read what the officer had to say about them in terms of acceptable in introducing a modern element.
Understand. Would you be prepared to put a proposal before the committee, being as you've spoken?
I'd be interested to hear what the other councillors have to say.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Would anybody like to propose to approve this application as recommended? Councillor Nixon.
What's the crack with the TPOs? Those trees that were illegally felled.
Through you, Chairman, do you wish me to answer that?
Please, I would just comment that I don't think that is a material planning reason to deal with the actual application before us, but please answer it, Neil.
Chairman, we're still looking at a prosecution clearly for that because they were taken down and consent was needed. Tree replacement notices have been issued for those and they will have to provide trees. They can't go in exactly the same position, obviously because it's in the corner and will be affected by the development. But again, there's a tree on the other side of the fence in the neighbour's garden which is also gone, which we'll look at. Chairman, as you say, there are distinct issues, and just because the work's gone on with the tree, the preserved trees, the TPO trees, it wouldn't be a justification to refuse.
Yeah.
Chair, I'm sorry, but I cannot bring myself to vote in favour of it.
Okay.
Whilst this has taken place, that's all I'll say on the matter.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Clegg.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I don't necessarily agree with Neil on this because this development wouldn't, in my mind, wouldn't have been able to be achieved in its present form had the existing trees still been there. It's only because the trees have been dropped, illegally I might add, and they are being replaced elsewhere that it has allowed this development to take place. So I think they are linked. I don't think they are two separate issues because it's only through bending the rules, which a lot of people are all too keen on doing and too happy to do it without any consequences. And I think that it would not have achieved this development without removing those trees from where they are and replacing some new ones elsewhere, albeit they are being replaced, but in a different place that's convenient to him. And I can't vote in favour of it either, Chairman.
Okay, fair enough. Councillor Foxley's, I have a hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just have a question about the replacement trees for Neil Watson. Would it clearly part of the enforcement is to require replacement trees, or the prosecution, I should say. Is it not possible to stipulate where those trees go and not just be guided by the applicant on this?
Chairman, if I can just put the site plan up, if I can get that on somewhere else, if you bear with me a second, if I can do that. Sorry, Chairman, I'll just put it up now for you, which will just show. Can everybody see that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chairman, there were two TPO trees. Can you see my cursor on screen or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one there and one here. Chairman, putting a new tree which will grow to quite a scale in that location here, either close to the highway and the boundary wall and close to the residential properties, or too close to there, Chairman, wouldn't be a good idea in just general arboricultural terms anyway. Okay, the trees grew there previously, but Chairman, planting a tree that is likely to push a boundary wall over or affect the foundations or the side of buildings because of the root protection area here, Chairman, it's just not good arboricultural practice. So, although I entirely agree, it was done clearly, in my view, purposefully, and we should take action against that. It's not good practice to require a tree to be replanted in here, particularly one which what we want it to do is to grow quite large and be a prominent one. It wouldn't be good practice to put it there because of the damage it could do to the existing infrastructure.
Okay.
Thank you, Neil. But I would like to say that when you talk about the tree being prominent, it certainly won't be prominent from Barrowford Road, which is where the other two trees were very prominent from and significant on Barrowford Road, I think. The reason I was asking was because clearly, if the requirement was made to put the trees in the vicinity of where they were originally, then that might have a bearing on the planning application. So I do have some sympathy with the comments that have been made about, well, these two issues aren't necessarily connected, because basically I agree that we are here to determine a planning application, and we've strayed onto discussion of the prosecution for the TPO trees, but I don't necessarily feel that we should just lie down over the TPO tree issue, and you know, that could have a very significant bearing on the planning application. So I'd be guided by Neil Watson, but I don't accept, frankly, that we cannot require as a council that trees are replanted where they were already. I agree that planting trees very close to the gable of a building, for instance, would be against normal arboricultural practice. But those trees were there. They weren't unhealthy and in need of felling, and they would have remained there for a good number of years as very substantial trees. What we're talking about is replacing them with some piddly little newly planted trees, which would take a very long time to reach the same maturity. So we're talking a lot of years of no trees here in that location, and you know, I think it's a significant issue, albeit it is a separate issue. I'm merely flagging up, partly to the applicant, that this isn't necessarily at an end as far as I'm concerned in terms of the tree issue.
Okay. Councillor Foxley, Margaret?
Yeah, I know. I just cannot not put my 2 pence in here. It's a little bit, I mean, Councillor Coburn-Price knows exactly how I feel about retrospective planning, and it irritates me in the same way, in that, you know, here we have somebody who is quite clearly doing something that they know to be wrong for their own personal gain. The only way that this can go through, like Councillor Clegg said, this proposal can go through is with the result was taking down the trees. Now, that is just so wrong. This person knew that those trees were protected. They knew that they were doing something illegal, but it means now that the actual design and the proposal can go ahead because those trees are no more. They were protected, so they should be put back where they were. And if that doesn't work for the proposal, then so be it. We'll have to change it. Sorry.
Chairman, I hear what's being said here. I think if the debate goes where it could go and is likely to go here, Chairman, I think I'd be far more comfortable for the council and for the committee and myself, were we to, if you defer the application, to get a legal view on whether this is a legitimate course of action, because I don't want us to make a decision and find out that, as I suspect it may be, that it's not legitimate for us to do that in a material planning sense. So it would be useful for us to look up some case law and get some advice from our solicitors, perhaps on the whether we can properly do this. And I think, Chairman, that will be, in my view, if you want the trees to go back where they were, that will be a legitimate way to proceed, and it would, for the sake of a month, it would safeguard, I think, everyone in the process.
I think that is very sensible, Mr. Watson, because if not, it blows up in our face and ends up costing everybody money that it shouldn't. That's the point. Councillor Nixon, did you wish to speak, or did you not put your hand down again?
I did wish to speak, thank you.
So, yeah, please.
I actually quite liked the design of the extension, and unlike Sarah, I do like a good bifold door. I think they're very smart. But I just couldn't see how we could possibly vote in favour of a planning application where an illegal act has taken place before it. It just doesn't compute in my mind, Chairman. Sorry, I'd have happily voted in favour because I think it's quite a nice looking design, and but that's it. You know what I'm saying anyway. Thanks. Yeah,
exactly. I think we know where we are. So, could I ask then? Do we have a proposer for a deferral to seek legal action? Councillor Clegg.
Thank you, Chairman. In that case, I will move what Neil has suggested about taking legal advice and coming back in 1 month.
Yep, lovely. Seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, Sarah, that's fine, thank you. So all those in favour, so if nobody puts their hand up or indicates, I will assume that that's a unanimous decision. I'll wait a few seconds. Nobody wish to speak? Okay, so that's unanimous that we will defer for 1 month to seek legal advice regarding the
I've had my hand up for quite a while.
Statement. Sorry, who was that?
That's me. That's
Sir, you've had your opportunity to speak. We would only let you back in to speak if we have a specific question for you, and no councillor has a specific question.
Okay, thank you.
So the matter is now closed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming, and we'll be back in a month's time and restart your application. Good. Moving on then, planning appeals.
I can't put my hand up. I would just like to put it in the notes for Lynn to note that Jeff Cranby has a parapet ornamentation that he took from Langroyd Hall when it fell on the ground in 1965 or something like that, and he's happy to give it back to the Langroyd Hall developing team.
Okay. Yeah.
Chairman, it's an odd way that we do these things. We have to report them, then we'll take them off the list. But we have actually the outstanding appeals. The first one was allowed. That's 190701 full, and then the one for Langroyd Hall was dismissed. So in fact, all three appeals have been determined.
Okay, thank you. Would this be Councillor Nixon?
Is this item 6B, Chair? The orange paper, the yellow, whatever colour paper it is.
Yeah.
The 17 Whiteley Avenue house, I read that as though it's gone to appeal, and the appeal has decided that the Colne Area Committee was wrong to refuse it. Is that, has it got planning now, as per the original drawing?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Councillor Greaves.
Hi. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask what's happened to the long list of complaints and pending enforcements and so on that we normally get. Has it all been lost due to COVID and hasn't come back yet?
Through you, Chairman, I was due to bring it back this time, but I've got the enforcement officer who's on sick leave at the moment, so my intention is to bring it back next time.
Right, you let off this time then. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Okay. Anybody else indicating? I can't see anything on my system. If somebody else wishes to comment, please unmute and speak now. Okay, that's fine. I haven't heard anybody. Mr. Watson, would you just like very quickly just to give the councillors an update on the white paper that was published today? Obviously no detail, and I think you're going to bring a full document back to PNR. So anyway, I'll just let you to brief everybody if that's possible.
John, I'm only just going through this, but there's a few things happening at the moment, and myself and Councillor Greaves have spoken about part of this. There's a raft of permitted development right changes coming through. For example, abilities to put 2 stories on flatted accommodation. We understand that's going to be extended in some form to houses. We don't know the details of that. That will just come through as legislation as opposed to consultations. Chairman, we also now have a white paper that came out either today or yesterday, and that's looking at some quite radical changes to the planning system, shortening local plans, giving an actual housing number the proposal is, as opposed to letting local councils decide their housing number. There's all kinds of proposals to make the whole system electronic through some new prop tech companies, which are basically companies who deal with houses and make a process from start to finish. No real details about what these plan tech companies will achieve. Basing local plans on growth, renewal and protected areas, getting rid of community infrastructure levy for a new form of automated levy procedure, which will just be applied based on land values, a whole raft of changes to designs, to automatic planning permission being granted for certain developments, etc., etc., as well as still supporting neighbourhood planning. It takes a lot of getting around. John, I'm not going to go into the details of it. The proposal will be to, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, to try and digest this, write a report to management team, and thereafter seek views, obviously, from elected councillors, because I think it potentially could see how we deal with planning at grassroots level substantially change. I think the idea is basically once you've got your local plan in place, then design codes take precedence over planning decisions. That's how I'm effectively reading it. And it's very clear they see, and forgive me if I'm blunt, the planning system as the evil that has not provided housing over a number of years, which I don't subscribe to, because I think there's a whole plethora of issues there. But that seems to be the gist of it. And one of the issues will be for us skill sets, because it's going more to an architectural set of skills, in my view, rather than people such as yourselves and myself making decisions. So there's likely to be a lot of debate about this. I know I've seen the barrister that we use has already written articles on this saying, don't break something that isn't broken, you can tweak this, and don't blame the planning system for other ills. But the other side of it also, if I may, my view, I've read this, it is very much a southern-based white paper, and as usual, the north, particularly in challenging areas, and we've got challenges. If this goes through, we'll miss out on some of the issues, in my view. So, Chairman, just to let you know, it's out there. We'll bring papers back to members when we've had a chance to look at it, and there'll be some robust debates, no doubt, going forward.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Neil. I just thought it was worth giving everybody a flavour of what's coming down, coming round the corner. Councillors have indicated with their hand up. So I've got Councillor Greaves. Unmute, Councillor. Can't hear you. You need to switch on your mic. Tony, switch on your mic.
Yes, I have.
Gotcha.
Yeah, sorry,
That's all right.
Switched it off and switched it on and switched it off. We will be discussing this at great length, I think, but just two things. I don't understand. I have spent a happy 10 minutes printing it all off on my printer earlier today. I don't understand how neighbourhood planning is going to fit into this, because neighbourhood planning is the detail of the existing planning system, the existing local development plan. I don't understand how neighbourhood planning is going to fit into it at all, but that's something we will discuss. The other thing I would just say, it is clearly going to take a lot of decision making away from elected councillors at the point of development applications. And as we all know, people don't pay a lot of attention when the local plan goes out for consultation, but they do pay a huge amount of attention when somebody puts in a planning application for the field next to where they live, or indeed anywhere else. And I think if people here, councillors here, are not very happy about this general direction, then those councillors who might have a bit more influence on the present government, i.e. Conservative councillors, ought to start lobbying very hard indeed. Some of us will discuss it elsewhere, but that's my advice to you. Talk to the MP, talk within your party, and see what it can be done to mitigate some of the worst aspects of it.
Right.
I'm sure you're delighted at my advice.
As always. Councillor Nixon, you wish to speak? No?
Sorry, no, I don't. I forgot to
No, that's okay. If you all like to put your hands down now. Councillor Greaves, you still got your hand up. That would be great. So I'm going to move on now, unless anybody's got anything else burning in that. I'm sure this is a lot more. Councillor Coburn-Price.
Just to say to Councillor Greaves, I have invited Robert Jenrick via Andrew Stevenson to come up and see wonderful Pendle. And just at the moment, when he's going to give us a date, there was the COVID thing. So I will have another go, because as you rightly say, it is very difficult, nay impossible, to have a one-size-fits-all system. I was slightly cheered by the long interview on the Today programme this morning, where there was a lot of talk about small local builders and neighbourhood planning still being very central to, in terms of keeping an area's vernacular and not having a generic architectural style. So I listened very carefully there, but I obviously don't know the detail, but the devil is in the detail.
As always. Okay, they're going to move on now then. So enforcement, unauthorised uses, item 7. Anybody wish to speak, ask questions? I'm going to take that as a no and move on unless I hear anybody. Okay. Capital programme is there for noting. Amounts still to be spent. No comments. Okay. Item 9.
Sorry, I'm right. I've put my hand up now.
Councillor Greaves.
Can I just ask? The most of the amounts which are set out in the table are amounts from last year. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. There's no new money being allocated from this year.
No. So what is there has been another, whatever it is, 40 odd thousand allocated capital to the Colne District Committee this year. So we got 50,000 altogether. So what are your thoughts, Chair, on allocating part of it towards again?
Right.
I mean,
Okay. So yeah.
what I'm coming to is that if you'll see in Waterside, some of the money from last year has not been, quite a lot has not been spent, and we are deliberately trying to save it up to provide a sum of money for the land at Essex Street to particularly get rid of the garages and so on,
Yep.
and some other schemes as well. It would help to know if we're going to get any money from this coming year as well on a ward basis. We can add to it. We had hoped to get money from the government from their pocket parks, but we didn't win in the last round. And basically, we need about £10,000. So we're looking at ways of getting that and how we can save up for it. So it would be very helpful to know what are your thoughts about it.
Okay, so what I said at a previous meeting, which unfortunately you were not able to attend, I said this year, because of what's happening with COVID-19 and the strain on the high street and what was happening with money to try and boost that through this COVID business, that perhaps we would hold on to the money and see how much we needed to reinvigorate the high street through the Colne bid and everything else. Now, my feeling on what's being said and what I've seen so far is they don't seem to be trying to draw a lot of money down. There was some government money, and I thought as a group we might want to dip into this pot as a big chunk of money to try and boost things forward. So what I had in mind, that we would hang on until the winter, and if the money has not been spent, then as in previous years, we would allocate it to councillors on a ward basis, which would then give them 3 or 4 months to use that money before the end of the financial year in May 2021.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not arguing with that. It's just that it would help to know once the COVID thing allows us to start making some proper plans and so on about things, to know what might be available. And obviously, it might be less than in previous years, but it would still be very helpful to have some. But I hear what you say, and it would be useful to have a discussion about it in a couple of meetings, perhaps.
Yeah, that was exactly my feeling, because the last thing you're all going to want is for this money to be allocated at the end of February, and you've got a month then to do something with it, which is not sensible use of the resource in my view. But it was the thought that Colne might really need a big, large cash injection to stop the whole lot collapsing. We didn't know where we would be. My view is things are probably not as worse or as bad as we thought they were going to be a month ago. They're still pretty horrible, but it hasn't completely collapsed. And if we've got second and third waves to think of, and wherever that's going to lead us, perhaps it's going to be such a long job that spending money today is probably better to put it by and spend it slowly over a longer period. I don't know. It's everyone will have a different view, but that's where we are anyway. Councillor Sarah.
Yeah. On the final lilac report that we've got, back page, which I think comes under this really, it says members have not allocated a budget for litter and dog bins 2020 to 2021. And I wonder whether we should, because obviously we constantly have to repair bins. Should we allocate some funding for that? They're always sliding down their posts or breaking.
Usually, Neil will probably advise me before I say this, but usually they come to us and ask for money, don't they, Neil?
Chairman, yes, they normally come with a bid.
They normally come with a bid, depending on, how much we owe them for new bins, better bins, whatever. So it's very much dependent on that. So once they've got a work programme together, they'll come and ask for the money, which is why we always leave a little bit back anyway in the coffers for the odds and ends that come throughout the year.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just say, Chair, what I always say on these occasions? I think it's perfectly fair for them to come to us to provide new bins in new locations, I think that when replacing old bins when they're past their best is something that ought to come out of the central budget, not come from area committees. It's always been my view, and it remains my view. Yeah. I don't think we should be asking them how much they want to replace a dog bin that's fallen apart.
Yeah. I mean, normally, council, we don't have to prompt them. They come with their hand out to us fairly quickly without anybody reminding them, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm going to move on then to item 9, which is the waterside play areas. Councillor Greaves, would I suspect you would want to speak on this?
Councillor?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, go on then.
This is a proposal to provide, to give more land to Colne Town Council in order to extend the existing play area down Waterside. I can see Councillor Clegg is this than I do, and I think Councillor Mann knows more about it than I do. But it is simply a matter that the Colne Town Council, as I understand it, which I'm not a member of, wants to extend the existing highly successful play area at Downwater. And I understand also that they are proposing to close down the little play area at the bottom of Exchange Street as a sort of quid pro quo. Whether they're going to give back that bit of land to Pendle Council when they've closed it down, I'm not quite sure. Perhaps Councillor Clegg can tell us. But I will be very happy to propose a recommendation I've set out.
Okay, I've got Councillor Nixon indicated to speak.
Thanks, Chair. Only a very minor point. This a few minutes ago, Neil Butterworth has sent me a text message saying, "Could we just give his apologies for the meeting?"
Oh,
Not
right,
for
okay.
this item, but if Lynn could note them, please, or somebody could note them. But I could possibly shed some light on what's happened here on this particular item because I'm on the Playgrounds Working Group at the Town Council level.
Yeah.
It's basically as Councillor Greaves has just said. I can't remember what's happening with the land though. At the bottom of Exchange Street, but David Clegg probably can remember better than me. But I'm pretty sure that all the playgrounds from all the items of equipment at the bottom of Exchange Street is being moved into this new extended play area across on the Lord Rodney, basically. But I don't know what's happening to the land at the bottom of Exchange Street, but Councillor Clegg will probably know.
Okay, Councillor Clegg, down to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, Tony is right in what he says initially. We want to extend the main play area down there and move the smaller one into it, so it's all one big play area, and add some more additional extra equipment as well. Now, going back to this piece of land at the bottom of Exchange Street, which Tony's talking about, which would become redundant as far as Town Council were concerned. There are 3 options we could do with that, and I think Council are fairly happy doing it either of the 3 ways. We could give it back to Pendle Council in return for this additional piece of land they're giving us adjacent to the larger play area, in which case they would have to mow it forever and a day. Or we could grass it over and we could mow that piece and keep it. Or the third option is to level it all out and put a wildflower garden on it. And we're happy with either option. We're quite open with it.
Okay, can I suggest then, David, that what we do is we add those 3 options to our recommendations to policy and resources and say that we're happy to accept any of the 3 that they wish to put along with it and let them make the decision. Is that you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that as part of my motion. Yes. Can I just say, if the Town Council want to provide a wildflower garden there, I have no objection at all to that. I think it's an excellent idea, but they should be aware that wildflower gardens need quite a lot of annual maintenance. You can't just plant the wildflowers and then leave them forever and hope it'll be wonderful. I'm sure they know all about that, but I wouldn't want it to just be an overgrown wilderness rather than a maintained area.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's one of the biggest cons of gardening, that a wildflower garden. It sounds like no work. There's a lot more work than having a proper bed, I think. But anyway, so I think that we're all happy then with that recommendation to resources with those 3 options added. So all those in favour, I'm assuming if I see no hands that everybody's happy. Sarah, you got your hand up. Do you wish to speak?
No, thank you. I was just voting.
Sorry,
yeah.
Can I just talk? I don't know whether you can see me.
Right, can't see you, but yeah, I can hear you. Go on.
When I was talking to Lee Johnson about probably about 2-3 months ago, he mentioned that that land might be used for a small orchard rather than wildflower meadow. But so that's something that could well be considered as
okay,
well.
should we put down wildflower stroke orchard on our recommendation? Would that be sensible?
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, so all those in favour, sorry, Jonathan, I see you, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you need to be a bit clearer than that. Wildflower stroke orchard, I think, are 2 very different things. So I think it's got to be one or the other. I'd probably vote in favour of an orchard rather than a wildflower garden, because I think it's probably easy to maintain in the future. Plus, it helps with the carbon fight, the fighting the carbon emissions. I know it's only a very small patch of land, but more the merrier. But I just think it's got to be one or the other. It can't be either or.
What if we say wildflower or orchard to be determined by the town council at a later date?
Yes.
Yeah. That mate. Councillor Coburn-Price.
I have a wildflower orchard. It is perfectly possible to have them both, but as Councillor Greaves pointed out, it is loads of work weeding your wildflowers, making sure that nettles and invasive species don't take over. But actually it's beneficial because they sort of cross-pollinate each other at blossom time.
Okay, I think we're there now. I think I'll draw a halt as this will grow, this motion. So this is a recommendation to policy and resources. So if nobody indicates or speaks, I'm assuming that we're all in favour of it. Okay, so next on the item is 10, land adjoining Briarcliff Avenue, Colne. Anybody wish to start on that one? Councillor Greaves is nodding. Microphone, Councillor Greaves, please.
Yes,
that's it.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah. There was a pop-up thing came in front for some reason. I don't know what it was. Right. Yes, this is a wonderful idea. And I say this as somebody who spent far too much of my life a long time ago, 15, 20, 25 years ago, in trying to solve the problem of the misuse of this little snicket or ginnel or whatever it may be by kids who went down it, climbed over into the school, climbed out of the school, gathered there at night to do what kids do, etc. And the people who lived on the other side, the gentleman who lived, unfortunately, is not with us anymore, was perpetually ringing me up and talking about it. And we couldn't find a solution to it, but this is an obvious solution. These are the people on the other side, I think they're new residents who have said they would like to incorporate it. I just hope the council is sensible and doesn't charge them a ridiculous amount of money. I would give it to them for free, but perhaps that can't be done. But really, it ought to be sold to them as cheaply as possible. They are doing a favour, council, for the local community and for everybody else. And I am therefore delighted to move.
Yeah. Can anybody still hear me?
Yes, can you not hear me?
I see you. No, you went. I wasn't sure whether it was me or not. So you put a proposal down as per the recommendation.
I am putting a proposal as per the recommendation with a verbal comment that I hope it will be sold as cheaply as possible because they're doing the council a favour.
Okay, that's understood. And somebody like to second that proposal?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Dot. So anybody wish to speak? Councillor Mann? No, not Councillor Mann. Okay, so I'll put that to the vote then, unless anybody's got anything else to say. No. So unless somebody speaks or puts their hand up, I will assume it's unanimous in favour of what has been proposed. Waiting a few seconds. So that is unanimously passed. Okay, thank you very much. Item 11 is the reopening of Pendle's Town Centres to receive an update. I have seen no update unless anybody else has anything else they wish to say. Councillor Price?
Yes, I emailed all of you an hour and a half ago, something like that, with the update from Lisa, who is the bid manager, talking about the various projects that are completed and the various projects that are in train. Don't know how many of you received that? Anybody? Yes.
I received it, Sarah. I haven't had time to read it, I'm afraid.
Okay. It's just a bullet point list to do with us putting safety things over our bollards, to do with hand sanitizers on 4 points in the town. It's various things that are in train. And then also we are investigating this app, which is a way, I don't know whether any of you have ever seen the one at Weatherspoons, where you basically wish to avoid all human contact by ordering via the app, paying via the app, and of course it handily traces you. So it proves where you've been and who you are. And we could potentially have a Colne-wide app for all hospitality, you know, even including about coffee. Normally this would be quite expensive for an individual venue to put in, but there would be a sort of like town-wide license that ConeBid would do, and then therefore that would allow us to potentially promote our offering. So everything from about coffee to tubs via this app, get everybody to join in on it, and then the idea is it promotes a feeling of security. Some of the members feel, who actually run hospitality businesses, have actually put in the response that they feel that using this kind of faceless app would make it seem less normal. And what we're trying to do as a town is have all the safety there, but keep everything feeling normal. So that debate is being had.
Okay. Yeah. Councillor Lord, you indicated to speak. Dot, did you want to speak?
Yeah, no, I was just switching on. Yeah, I'd like to for it to go on record for, as the chairman of the market panel, just to thank the market manager and the staff for the work they've put in weeks before, weeks before we were, meant to put everything in place. The hard work that the market manager did with his boss, Tony Brown, and the staff for the what's it called? Daddy. The signs and one thing another inside the market, under the canopy, in front of the market, and the market car park.
COVID proofing. How's that?
Yes, whatever. That's a good one. That's a good one, Graham. Yeah. So I'd just like it to be on record, you know, that they've done really, really well with it all. Just to pick up on Sarah's point there, I do agree with what she's saying, but I think if you lead people into thinking it's normal, trying to be normal again, they will be. I think you've got to still have an edge on it to so that people don't forget that actually it's not normal. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, I do. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Mann.
Yes. When I heard that Sarah said the word that about being back to normal, I want to sort of actually echo what Dot was saying. I think a lot of people are concerned that people have begun to think that it is back to normal.
Yeah.
And so those people that are a little bit more wary, they're not coming to the high street because they are concerned. So anything that we can do to alleviate that worry would be, I think, fantastic for the numbers of people that I've been in contact with.
Yeah, I think all those people are very sensible, but that's a personal view. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. I just want to let councillors aware, just to update them. I've sent Lisa, the Colne bid lady. She wanted to know about the signs that could be used for the Colne Gateway, all the roads into Colne. And we haven't decided on the strapline, but I sent her all the places that Colne Town Council use, and, you know, the Hippodrome, you know, the end of the motorway, the Langroyd Triangle, etc. So they've got all the sites that can be used when they decide what they're going to put on these sites to say, you know, come to Colne for honest and healthy and safe shopping.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's pretty much given everybody an update, unless there's anybody else got anything burning they wish to say. Councillor Coburn-Price, give you the last word.
Just to say, I will, of course, feed back to the team about your feelings. It is a difficult one, isn't it? You're running a business, you want people to feel safe, and you want them to have a good time. Because if they don't have a good time, they won't come again. And it's finding that edge. If the app is the way to do it, that's great. There could be other ways to do it. And I think we have to take a steer as councillors from people who do this for a living, as well as from experts who are checking on safety. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. We've got two outstanding items. That's the land at Leigh Street, responsibility for highways maintenance. I don't think anyone's got anything to say on that. We're expecting that at a later date, I think, or another meeting. Happy to move on from that. Okay, so exclusions of the public and press. So for those people that are listening to this via the web, I would just explain that the councillors now will take a vote as to whether excluding the public and press, etc., because of the sensitive nature of what we're about to discuss. It might divulge personal details. So we will vote on that, and if we vote to exclude you, then the web feed will be switched off. I'm sorry about that, but it's to protect people's personal information. So, councillors, you have the resolution in front of you. All those in favour, please indicate if you are not in favour by putting your hand up or speaking. So that's a unanimous vote in favour of switching off the web. Lynn, would you let me know when that's been done, please?